Hello, everybody, and welcome to OpenExO Live. I'm Kevin Allen, the Chief Community Officer at OpenExO. It's really great to be with you. Evening for me and evening for our guest who is in India at the moment. And you can see on the screen there, we have an amazing lineup of people coming up in the next couple of weeks. And before we get Ann onto the screen, I have a few messages from some community members about Ann. And we're going to start with this one, which comes from Paula. She just said, every time I'm with Ann, I can feel the beauty of the energy she has. Always curious, always learning, always evolving. She is an explorer with the ability to bring peace and balance into this accelerated world. She is extraordinary. Next up, we have from Marcelo. Ann is a great disruptor. I had the honor to share with her my certification cohort, and her approach in every session was always different, with a high level of creativity, but more than that, always thinking out of the box. I think that people like Ann will lead in the future the way of thinking in organizations. Next from Julie. Ann, I'm a big fan. Her energy, aura, and warmth emanate, even over the Zoom waves. I am in no doubt she is even more awesome in person. Her positivity is infectious, and facilitation skills in our global EXI group, for me, are at mastery level. She is able to elicit the best from each person, giving individual personality types the space to contribute. Ann's purpose perfectly mirrors her essence. The fact that she is driven to inspire people and lead a purpose-driven life, upgrading their concept of wealth and well-being, and actually achieves this is indeed a special gift. It is an absolute pleasure working with her. And then next, and we have quite a few of these because everyone responded from Delapo. The world can only become a better place when selfless professionals who make available their time and resources beneficial to mankind. Ann exemplifies this in who she is and what she represents. She is an amazing personality who is always seeking how individuals can be the best version of themselves. Working with her for almost 9 months on the Exponential Individuals Project has been rewarding for me personally. Keep winning, Ann. Next, we have from Michelle. Ann is a woman who is title-free by choice. She worked in the corporate mainstream before making the decision to serve the arts and new economy communities, helping people create value, health, and wealth. As a means of connecting with her vitality and creativity, Ann has made a ritual of allowing whatever is in her head drop into her heart center and allow what she feels and her intuition to surface, along with the practice of generating a sense of expansiveness. Both practices offer her greater ease, perspective, and the wherewithal to experience joy in the moment. Ann is truly a living example of what it means to give of oneself when one's cup is abundant and overflowing. And then lastly, we have from Eric. Ann is a well-known and long-time EXO community member, having made her mark as a purpose-driven coach, advisor, podcast host, and performing artist. An exponential individual herself, Ann's leadership with the EXI initiative has resulted in vibrant core team growth and the one Zoom call no one misses on Fridays. Her own surrender experiment led to her core team role with Boston EXO. She is a passionate thought leader, serial entrepreneur, dynamic co-creator, and a dear friend. Can't wait to host her in the US in the near future. So, with all of those, Ann, welcome to OpenExO Live.
Oh, thank you. My God, I'm lost for words. I'm so touched by everything everyone said, and I did not expect any of that. So thank you for the warm welcome, Kevin,
It's an
and
absolute
everyone.
pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. It's one thing that I really love doing with OpenExO Live is reaching out to different members of the community and asking them to share uh, uh, about about the person that I'm speaking to. And so we always start OpenExO Live. So Anne, you're currently in Pune in India, but
That's
you
right.
grew up in Dubai and you've lived all over and spent a lot of time in Cuba a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, that's
When
right.
you when you said, okay, corporate, you can go, and so done so many exciting things. Now we always start by asking you, well, tell us some of that. You've done quite a lot, but tell us about it, and essentially what drew you into the OpenExO community.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that I'd like to mention is the fact that I've met you, Kevin, face to face before meeting anyone on the EXO community. And before
True.
actually knowing you were a part of the community, which was so cool given we're now living out of boxes. And it's so lovely to be on this call with you because it just brings back memories of how, we met and how things used to be before COVID hit us, right? Um, so definitely missing that, but it's been beautiful to be a part of communities like OpenExO. And I think this is really the future of how working is going to be like this, you know, corporate ownership of building on things that actually change humanity for the better. And it doesn't matter where you are, you can still make it happen. I think my time with corporate was amazing. It taught me the skills I needed to learn. It kind of built me up to actually take that step and start to really tap into what Anne was about. And, you know, when we know the self, that's when we actually get better acquainted with what we can do in the world and how we can uplift people. And just by being a leading example in that, each one of us actually gives off this energy that everyone wants to feed off and everyone wants to do for themselves. And so when my last few years in corporate was very interesting. I actually met Paul Epping, who's part of the OpenExO community in 2018. And the irony is I was trying to draw in EXO Lever, which was the brand at that time before it changed open to OpenExO. I was trying to draw in EXO Lever into the company I was working in because I was in senior leadership, and I was thinking, this would be amazing to disrupt ourselves right now before we get
Yeah.
disrupted. And I remember that meeting with Paul. It was over a juice, like when I was done with work, and I was just thinking, oh my God, things need to change. And he said, Anne, I want to introduce you to a community. And, he sent through an email. And at that time, OpenExO, at that time, EXO Lever was just building the community. And I found out about EXO Economy, which it wasn't called at that time as well, and this whole experiment with tokenized communities. And I was like, wow, this is cutting edge, and this is where the future is going. People are already experimenting with it. So Paul was the reason I jumped into OpenExO. And fast forward from that, was very inspired to go to Singularity University, did that in 2018. And that was the time I was actually weighing down quite heavy in regard to what I wanted to do in the world. I didn't know, what my next steps were. I was hitting a burnout. I was heading that way. I could feel it. The company was restructuring. I loved the place I was working in. It was Dubizzle, was the leading marketplace in the UAE at the time. And we had built this culture where it was very much like family. We had a purpose. We had a great team. It was just this kind of place where you'd go to work with your flip-flop and jeans and everything was cool, right? And obviously, like many stories, startup stories, you get bought out, culture changes, restructure happens. And that's the natural evolution. And I think in that process, I was faced with a lot of questions in regard to what I wanted to do next. And so Singularity University had been in my radar for a long time, even before I met Paul. And I said, I'm going to do it now. I'm just going to go and see, if this inspires me. And so I traveled, got back, and then chatted with a bunch of people in the OpenExO community. I'm like, oh my God, the world's going to change drastically in the next couple of decades. What are we going to do about it? I was so pumped. And it got me to think a lot more about purpose and, how I wanted to contribute. And then lo and behold, I joined OpenExO, right at the end of my time with Dubizzle. I jumped on board where I was actually doing 2 jobs at that time. And I thought, I needed to, like, the typical mindset was, if you're going to leave one thing, you've got to jump into another thing, right? Because you've got to be stable. And that was the old school Ann, right? Okay, be prepared. And so that's what I did. 3 months in, I remember being on that call, and Kevin, you were there too. And I said, time out, I can't do this. I have no creativity to give because I haven't taken that time to really figure out what I wanted to do. And I think for me, that was a big moment because it was the first time I actually stepped outside the norm and said, wait a minute, I'm going to take the opportunity to detach myself from everything I've known, which meant also surrendering my ego, right? Because you've just left corporate senior leadership, you've been exited because the team changed. And everything that you wanted to do, the projects that I wanted to do didn't build up because we didn't have the funds. And then jumped into this and I said, oh my goodness, I need a breather. And yes, I packed my bags, and I remember having a burger with my best friend in Dubai. She's like, get out. I'm booking your ticket right now. And she got on her laptop. She's like, we're booking right now. And I said, this is the best decision I've ever made. And, at that point in time, 2018 was an eye-opening year because I started to realize really what it meant to live your life being labeled. And, we get into corporate and we want to climb the ladder. And even when we exit, we want to co-found and we want to slap that label on as a co-founder. And it's interesting. I wanted to bring that up in our conversation today because I feel it's such an important one considering the way the world is going and the way technology is going, with all these decentralized communities like OpenExO and, even what the folks at Unit are building, which is another company that I'm co-creating in. It's all about, well, what value are you bringing to the table? And, how authentic are you in serving the community? And when I dismantled that aspect of not needing a label, it was very scary. It's extremely scary and daunting. I said, who am I really? And what am I going to contribute? And then, lots of questions, lots of deep dives into myself. I kind of surfaced from that. And if I was to really simply put how I want to spend my day, like on a day-to-day basis, really simplify it, it would be just to create beauty, to love fully, and to help out. That's it. Like, I just want to wake up. I want to know that I'm creating things that are of value, helping people out, loving with all my heart, not being jaded, and kind of just being there in community. That's really how I've simplified it from a day-to-day perspective. But I would say 2018, when my best friend in corporate actually ended up in the ICU, was when I really started to think, what are we doing and is it worth it?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And the thing is, I mean, I do want to talk about the notion of leaders without titles, but also want to sort of marry that into purpose, right? We've had a conversation before about the idea of a massive transformative purpose versus massive transformative purposes, for different aspects of our lives. We not everyone is sort of singular focus, and some of us have these sort of multi-focused lives, and being able to what am I trying to say? To be able to, like, oh glory, I've lost my English words. To actually reward that in a way, you know, to actually shine a light on that in a good way, because society says you should have a single purpose, you should have a single title, you should.
Yeah.
So, you know, what is your, you know, what is your thinking around finding that purpose, and how that relates to, you know,
Yeah.
to how you share yourself in the world, I guess.
Yeah, I love that question. And it's such an important one because it's really daunting. If you were to sit down and sum up what your entire life was to look like, or what you were supposed to dedicate your energy to for the rest of your life in one sentence, that is really ambitious and daunting, right? And I really struggled with it. I said, what is wrong with me? I am not able to do that. I'm not able to summarize it. And so there was one framework that I started with that really helped me out initially, to look at it from different perspectives, different angles. And you know, I know that people at the OpenExO community are quite familiar with the Ikigai model, and the Ikigai model is, you know, the reason for being, and it makes you look at these four buckets of you as an individual, which is, what are you good at, what do you love, what can you get paid for, because you've got to make it through the day, right? Money pays things off, right? And I think a lot of people, when they're thinking about purpose, they end up in that place where they put themselves in the corner and they can't necessarily sustain themselves because they're thinking about this big dream, but they've forgotten about the practicality of getting there. And then what does the world need, right? Because a lot of people as well in communities like Singularity and OpenExO, we talk about helping the world, and we start externally. It's like, what can I do for the world? When you're forgetting about what is that person inside, like what is Anne, what does Kevin really need to do to keep themselves coming alive, keep themselves happy, keep themselves active, keep themselves well nourished from a well-being standpoint, so that they can show up and do the amazing things in the world, right? And so Ikigai really helped me frame that, because I started to map out the different areas I wanted to play in. And they've got, you know, that there are four circles that overlap, and it still has that central point, right? And so that's the part that I feel for certain individuals is flawed. It doesn't work for everyone to be able to overlap everything and kind of say, hey, you know, I'm going to combine art. I'm going to combine this is what I want to give humanity. This is what I'm good at. And I could potentially get a paying job that could satisfy all of this. It doesn't work for everyone. And having, you know, done this on myself, and also having worked with people who were trying so hard to discover what they wanted to do in the world, I started to look for other models, and I ended up discovering this amazing woman, Emily Wapnick, who coined the term multi-potentialite, right? And she talks about how, you know, if you want to be everything, you can, but you've got to know yourself a little bit, right? Like, you've got to know where to draw the line. You've got to know your energy levels. You've got to know, okay, if you want to play in 6 buckets, how much do you want to play in each one? And be able to structure your life around that. So with myself, what I did is I kind of broke it down into, all right, there's a purpose statement for how I want to live my life. And if I want to live my life like that, I want more people that I come in touch with to also experience that joy of living their life from that place. So my purpose statement started just being summed up, enabling people to lead their lives with fierce love. And why did I pick the words fierce love versus purpose-driven lives? Is because I feel like the word love is almost seen as a soft word in society, right? And it's so sad, because it's funny that every human being is actually only seeking love, that sense of belonging and love in everything, whether it's in their work environment, whether it's at home, whether it's in their relationships, their families. Yet we're so scared of admitting that. And I realized that this world that we've created, which is a world of competition, has been driven around fear. And the models that are coming into play, which are these decentralized communities that have decentralized models of governance that are, you know, powered by this amazing technology of blockchain, are going to enable people to start asking a more important question, which is, am I doing this out of love, or am I doing this out of fear? And I think when people start asking that question, they start doing things for the right reason versus the wrong reason. So that's part of my purpose statement. The other part, which is what can I give to the world, is how can I help upgrade society's concept of wealth and well-being? What is the concept that we've held of abundance and scarcity in our mind? And technology is starting to play a big role in this, you know, with everything to do with tokenized communities and being able to be a part of something bigger and having ownership in the things you believe in. So kind of like the EXO economy, when you have an EXO token, you're now part of the EXO economy and you're a contributor and you also are a shareholder, right?
Mm.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So that concept of, hey, I'm no longer just a consumer or I'm no longer just an employee, I'm an owner that's vested in what you believe in, is going to shift the way people choose what they want to be a part of and how they create in the world. So that's a big one for me, is, you know, not only to help society do that, but also to live my life like that. And it's been challenging to transition from this old way of being into a new way of being, where a lot of paradigms have been dismantled for me.
Absolutely. Now, Anne, I know you're really working on a few different things, right? But you know, the idea of decentralized communities, and you know, and the blockchain space is somewhere that you're pretty heavily involved, right? You want to share a little bit about what you're doing, and you know, that sort of ties in with you know, your purpose, and also this the fact that you have no title in in all these roles.
Yeah, I think, you know, the question people will be asking as they enter these decentralized communities is, what are my natural abilities and how can I play at my best in these communities using those natural abilities? Certain cases, they'll want to aspire to new things and then they can try it out, but it's all going to be about what value you're bringing to the people that you're building with. So one of the projects that I'm working in right now, I'm co-creating in, is with some brilliant minds. They're based all over the world, because that's how, you know, that's how teams are formed now. It's like no one, it's so bizarre. It's like I have meetings with people in Bali and people in Europe and people in States, and you know, I'm trying to structure my time here in India. And it just, initially when I started doing it, I was like, how are we going to survive as, you know, being able to manage our schedules, but manage a way around that. And I think now teams as well, you know, set up their calls so that there's different time zones so that they can accommodate people in different time zones, right?
Yeah.
But Unit is the brand or the company that's coming together beautifully, and what they're trying to do is really help people evolve into creating an easy way to understand finance. So making finance fun and easy, and making equity raising fun and easy. And what do I mean by that? This whole concept, when the web 2.0 started, you know, building a website was only something a developer could do for you, right? You had to find the developer to code your site, and that's how you had a website. Similarly with marketplaces, but then came around Shopify, and then came around Wix, and people could create their own websites and their own, you know, e-commerce platforms with limited knowledge of coding.
Yes.
And so what Unit's trying to do, and they are building it, we're already in the stage of launching the second version of the platform, is to make tokenization easy, which enables people to then create their own token brands. So if you're an artist and you want to create a token brand for your name, you could do that. Or if you're a startup and you want to, you know, be able to create, let's say you know, it could be a brand for maybe the Free the Food community, right? And you could have a Free the Food community token, and everyone who's a part of that ecosystem could then be able to buy those tokens or earn those tokens based on what they do, kind of like what's happening in the EXO economy. But I think the thing here is we're giving autonomy to people to actually be able to set up these DAOs themselves with limited barrier to entry. And what that will enable is for more people to experiment in this space of decentralized governance and decentralized communities. So UNIT actually is building out the technology for that, but they've also got the educational layer, which is really cool, which is unitmasters.org. And what we're doing with that is really to allow an open source, anyone can access it, education program, which is a 6-week program to learn the fundamentals of blockchain and cryptocurrency. Why? Because we believe that, if you have the knowledge early on, you have a head start in actually adjusting to this massive transformation that's coming at us anyway. And so, regardless of whether you are in corporate and have nothing to do with blockchain or have never even bought a crypto, don't have a wallet, that's fine. Just come on board and learn how it could potentially impact you or your kids in the future. So it's a very open community. We've got entrepreneurs on there. We've got students on there who are just, fresh out of university. We've got some really key partners who are kind of bringing in their students, like InSeed. So very fun stuff. And we're excited to be able to share that knowledge with the community and people who are interested.
Absolutely. That's super awesome. Now, Anne, like I said when we were speaking before we came live, we were not going to get through everything we wanted to speak about, and the time is coming to a close. I definitely think we need to have a few more discussions like this, especially around the how purpose aligns to decentralized organizations and aligns to where the world is going. But as we end off today, what would you like to share with those that are watching this live and watching the recording as we end off the call today?
I'd just like to say that don't be scared to figure out what your purpose is and sum it up in a sentence. Kevin and me have talked about this before. You can be an artist, you can be a co-founder of a business, you can be doing charity work, you could be doing multiple things simultaneously, and they could all have different purpose statements, and you could still manage to find time for yourself and that sense of well-being. Give yourself space to explore and be kind to yourself, and always come back to the question, are you doing it for love or are you doing it out of fear?
Absolutely. And it's been a pleasure chatting to you. I'll see you again tomorrow at our Exponential Individual Call, which happens every Friday, and everybody loves it. It's been wonderful chatting to you. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
A pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that was Ann Boothello, such an amazing community member. As she said, been around for quite some time. So thanks so much for joining us today. It's been really awesome. We will see you again next week.